Back in the locker room with Tunch and Wolf, and yes, it is sweeps month, and we're going for the big rating tonight, and that's why we have Brian O'Neill from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, columnist who is the official self-appointed stats geek. Thanks for joining us, Stats.
Good to be here.
And might I add, a fellow Syracuse alumnus.
Well, no. He's not a fellow Syracuse alumnus.
Excuse me, he went to Syracuse?
Yeah.
I went to Syracuse.
He graduated Syracuse. That would make him an
That's
alumnus.
a mere technicality.
Yeah, sure. You never got hung up on those things. don't like the facts.
It's just a matter of four
You
credit
were there.
hours. What do you think?
What? It's meaningless. A piece of paper.
That's
Right, yeah. The important thing is that they were both at Syracuse at the same time. And also,
Like minds.
we're starting this campaign that he's no longer the stats geek. He's too cool. We're going to call him Stats. It sounds much cooler. So, Stats, thanks for joining us, buddy.
Happy to be here.
You know, off the air, before we came on, Jim Bedell, the tennis coach from St. Vincent's, asked a very cool question. He said, what is the most important stats that you love more than any other?
That nobody cares
That nobody
about.
cares
Right.
about.
Yeah. On base plus slugging average.
On base but slugging it.
Yeah.
All right, explain.
All right. Unlike batting average, which is just how many hits you get per official time at bat, on base average is how often you get on base and how many outs you don't make per plate appearance. So if you walk a lot, you'll have a good on base average. Jason Kendall was a guy who always had a good on base average. And slugging average is your total bases per time at bat. So it's basically, if you put the two together, it's how often you get on base and how far you hit the ball.
Now, does it include, like, when you get hit? You get
Yeah,
beamed?
that includes that too.
Wolf was good at his coach
Right.
to say,
My coach-
get up there and get hit, please.
No, my coach used to sit there and he'd go, crowd the plate, crowd, because when I
Exactly.
played Little League, you know, I was kind of a chubby kid. So he'd say, hang yourself in there, you got
Right.
that slinger, get it in there, and then I get hit. So maybe my on-base percentage wasn't
It
bad.
was very high.
Ah.
Sure.
Now, how did you become the stats guy? And I know you've been a columnist for a long, long time. When did you get into the whole baseball statistics?
Yeah. Well, the gateway drug for this kind of stuff is fantasy baseball. You know, I had this fantasy team, and I, you know, on my lunch hour, I would go to ESPN.com and I'd find all these statistics, and I became more and more interested in what wins for teams, and I didn't see a lot of that getting into the paper, so I went to the sports editor and I said, so let me do this column once a week. It'll just be strictly on the stats. I'll never interview an athlete. I'll just crunch the numbers and watch the games and write it that way. And he said, sure, go ahead. So I've been doing it since like 2003 every summer.
Now, what has been the evolution of the stats game? I mean, is Billy Beane the pinnacle of it, or has this been something that's been developed by a lot of people over a lot of years?
There was a guy in the 80s named Bill James who was just a guy working in like a vegetable canning. He was a night watchman in some factory, and he started obsessing about the Kansas City Royals, and he started writing these pamphlets, and he would sell them. You know, I put a classified in the Sporting News, and people started buying him. And he was really funny, and he really smart, and he
had a lot of time on his hands.
He had a lot of time on his hands since he was a night watchman, but he was a very funny writer, and he broke a lot of new ground. I mean, a lot of the stuff he discovered about what wins in baseball has proven true. He now works for the Red Sox.
Whoa.
Now, do you ever have to? First of all, let me ask you two questions here. Is there a team that you personally obsess about?
The Pirates.
The Pirates. And do you ever have to go, okay, stats? Walk away from the computer.
Right.
Put it down.
Put it down. Walk away.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
It's yes, I do. And my wife insists that we don't have full-blown cable, so I don't watch every game. Although occasionally I go around to the local, and where I was watching the game last night, and watch some games. And I also go to a lot of games at the ballpark. But yeah, I have to monitor myself because I get a little too obsessed. Yeah.
Do you ever get a situation like one night in the morning, my wife goes, what is your problem? I was training for my black belt in jiu-jitsu. She said, you know, all night long you're tugging the cover off. And here I was dreaming that I was throwing a guy in a big white gi, you know, the big white jackets. Here it was, of course, the cover. Do you ever act out some of these things?
Logarithms, wrestle with logarithms. No, I can't say that I've done that, but sometimes I can't get to sleep because I'm,
You know what? I got the same problem. I think too much too. That's the problem.
Okay, so then
Great mind.
your
Right.
stats. Yeah, boy, you're in trouble now. The stats, the Pirates' stats right now, are they truly just under 500 baseball teams?
I think they could be. I mean, they're lucky right now to be hovering around 500. They're winning all these close games, and usually that doesn't last over the course of a season. There's a common misconception that the good teams win the close ones. Actually, everybody wins the close ones. The good teams have the occasional blowout, and the Pirates never blow the other team out. So they've been outscored by 40 runs on the season. Most teams like that would have been lucky to win 11 out of 30, but they've won 14 out of. They're 14 and 17 as I speak to you right now. So unless they start hitting, they're going to be in big trouble, and I think they will hit. They have guys with track records who haven't hit at all yet. But there's only 2 guys on the team right now. Actually, there's only 2 guys on the team who have a higher on-base average than the average player in the National League, and that's Jason Bay and Ryan Doumit, who's just been insane.
Over Ryan Domit's number now. I mean, what was that, a 765 slugging average?
Right.
Explain the slugging average to me. Okay, slugging average to me.
Come on. I can understand you asking about the other, but the slugging average.
Well, slugging average to me is like boxers, okay? How many times you slug a guy, to me that's slugging average.
Well, it's similar to that. It's how many bases you get per time at bat. So if you get a double, that's 2 bases. You go 1 for 4 with a double, that's 2 bases and 4 at bats. That's a 500 slugging average. So he's at 765. That means about every time at bat, every 4 times at bat, he has the equivalent of a triple. I mean, he's just been, that's averaged out. I don't know if he has any triples, but he's got, 2 home runs, 4 or 5 double. About half his hits have gone for extra bases. So
You say it was like Bonzian numbers, and like you really knew.
I knew exactly what I was talking about. Hey, all right, let me ask you something.
slugging
I mean, how many
percentage.
guys
didn't know
on
the slugging
that
percentage.
baseball team have a 0 fielding percentage? Or actually 100% fielding percentage.
100%. That would be third baseman, Jose Bautista, right?
That is correct.
Bautista.
That's
Yeah,
right.
he's been
huh?
great.
Yeah.
Hey, right back at you.
Yeah.
there.
So
Chuckles.
now I was reading your column, the juggling of the infield.
Right.
Batista, Castillo, Freddie Sanchez. So if you're the manager, what's the ideal defensive setup look like?
Well, the ideal defensive setup is not the one they have now. Unfortunately, their best defensive players aren't their best hitters. So, and this team is desperate to score runs. So they're going to have to make compromises on defense, and they have been making compromises on defense to get some more hitting in there. And that's a particular problem on the Pirates because they don't have a lot of strikeout pitchers. All these pitchers put the ball in play. And Freddie Sanchez is having big problems at second base right now. He's just not getting to as many balls as Castillo did last year. And Castillo didn't have a very good year with the glove last year either, but he had more range than Sanchez has shown. Sanchez didn't have much of a spring training, and he's been hurt, and maybe he'll get better. I hope he'll get better. He's played that position before and played it better, but right now he's not playing it very well.
Interesting stat that you always refer to is created runs. Explain to your fellow
runs created.
Explain to
I
your
got
fellow
it right.
orange
See, his
head, your
thinkeration
pumpkin head.
processes just don't work normal.
Well, I don't know if I can explain that one.
Okay, thanks.
That formula is a mile long, but it includes everything. It's like you're throwing everything but the kitchen sink in there. Sacrifice hits, hit by pitches, stolen bases, caught stealing, and this is a Bill James stat, and he figured out how many runs a guy creates, and it works incredibly well. And the best guy on the team right now is Ryan Doumit. A team of 9 Ryan Doumits would score an average of 14 runs a game.
But I went over your mathematics there.
I was wrong. Did I have a
Castillo, you forgot to carry the 1.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Brian, thank you so
great.
much for joining us.
The pleasure was mine.
Brian O'Neill from the Post-Gazette. You can read his column there regularly, and you can catch his Stats Geek act, but it is now just stats. We're going to take a break. We'll be back. Yeah, that's for sure. We won't hold that again. We'll be back with more right here in the locker room.
Hi, this is Tony DeFazio of the Pittsburgh Sports Report. For the best in Pennsylvania high school coverage, get in the locker room with Tunch and Wolf.